two junk journals in two totally different styles, created simultaneously to show that an inspiration can be transferred to every style and every junk journal that you might have on your desk, so that you can create your own unique piece of art and your own very special junk journal. In today's video, I would like to show you which papers I have chosen for both of the journals that I will create during this series. And I would also like to show you how I tear, cut and distress those papers to make my pages for my junk journals in the grungy style and the clean style. Hi there, this is Luisa Heinzel. Thank you very much for joining me today. This video is the second video of my little series, two junk journals in two totally different styles. If you have missed the previous video and if you want to follow along this series and watch the other videos as well that will follow this one, then please check out the info box below this video. I have a playlist where I have put the previous video in, this one of course, and the others that will follow in the future will go into that playlist as well, so that you can check that out. In the last video, we have found the color palettes for both of the journals that I would like to create simultaneously within this series. So this is the color palette for the more grungy and vintage, really crumbled and, you know, extreme grungy journal. And this is the color palette for a very clean journal that shall become the total opposite of this one here. And in the meantime, I have taken those little things here that we've created the last time as a reference for the papers that we want to use for the journals. I have taken this and I've went through my stash to find papers for the grungy journal. They are laying here on the right hand side. And I have done the same thing with this little sample thingy here. And I have chosen papers for the clean journal that you can see here on the left hand side. And I have also some papers that are laying in the middle here that I want to use for both of the journals, because I think that they are matching both styles really, really well. And I also have created a little surprise for you. This is a new digital printable paper that you can find in my Etsy shop. The link is down below in the description box. These junk journal pages are called Steamy Floral Smoke. And when you see them, you will probably see that those are created especially for this series and for both of those styles and for the color palettes that we have chosen the last time. In my shop, you will find the junk journal pages with this name, Steamy Floral Smoke. And while I'm showing you the pages, I can tell you that you also can find some background papers. They are called Steamy Floral Smoke Journal Backgrounds. And you can either print them to the back of your junk journal pages from this set, or of course you could also use those separately. As you can see, I have left the back sides of my papers blank. That has a reason, because I want to use the space on the back side of those papers to show you some techniques in the both of the different styles. I thought I can use the space on the back for different things where I need, some space, some blank paper. But of course, you could also use those backgrounds to print them to the other side of the paper. And there's also an ephemera pack available that matches the junk journal pages and of course the backgrounds as well. You can find all of the links to those items listed down below this video. And If you are very, very patient and if you want to follow this series, you will also find out that, how can I say that this is not just a new printable in my shop, but that this is something really special because, I mean, it looks not so spectacular. There are flowers, yeah, and a little smoke. It looks not so spectacular. Seems like a normal printable. But if you use the Ranger products as well, and if you perhaps have chosen one of those color palettes, or perhaps you are making 2 journals at the same time as well, and you have both of those color palettes, and you use the Ranger products, then you will find out some things that you can do with this paper when you have some information how to do it, because I have spent a lot of time to create this, to make it match our color palettes and especially the products that we've used to create the color palette. That will make sense in a second, or perhaps a little bit later. So those are the pages, and let's first talk about the colors. Then perhaps that what I've said before can become a little bit more clear. When you look at this and you look, for example, here to this brown area where those roses are, then you will see that we have a mixture of ground espresso and brushed corduroy, and also both of the colors themselves. I have tried to get those roses in exactly those colors because, yeah, I wanted to have that matching. And I have many of those bluish, grayish florals here in the background below this smoky areas here. And this is approximately the oxidation of frayed burlap. You can see here where we've used the ink pad to make this little kind of swatch thingy. You can see the original color of frayed burlap and the oxidation. And of course, the oxidation has many different colors in it. It's, yeah, like shades of the color. And I've tried to get that into those flowers here to make that match really, really well. And if you remember, we have for the clean journal frayed burlap as well. So of course, this will match as well. Meaning, if you have the oxide inks or oxide sprays from Ranger and you want to follow this series, and if you perhaps want to use the same color palette, then you can be sure that those pages will match your color palette as well, and that this is really like easy to follow with those papers and those colors. Of course, you can also put this paper into another color palette. That's absolutely no problem. But then it's perhaps not so beginner friendly. Do you know what I mean? But I think you know, you know what to do. So, okay, that's that. And perhaps if you see this, especially if you have seen the last video of this series, then you might have one question. And this question could be, was Louise sleeping for the last few days, or what the heck is she doing? Because you might wonder why I haven't used the new color from Ranger, Lost Shadow, in this color palette for the clean journal. Some of you might know that the new color, Lost Shadow by Ranger, was just released. And when you saw the last video, perhaps you were wondering what the heck happened. But I want to quickly explain that, because for me it's a little bit embarrassing because the new color is definitely missing here, but I couldn't know that because I'm filming my videos for YouTube a little bit in advance, and I had already filmed the other video before the color was released, and I have uploaded that to YouTube. The whole video was edited, and then I saw the release and I was like, holy crap, this color has to go here. Yeah, there's no other way, because the color, this new color, That is, if you don't know Lost Shadow, it's a really, really gorgeous gray. And it would fit perfectly to this color palette. And in the color family of Ranger, it would go in between of pumice stone and hickory smoke. And if you look at the contrast here, wouldn't it be totally great to have a color that is in between here and add a fourth color here? So it wasn't possible. I can't look into the future, of course, but I wanted to explain why Lost Shadow is missing here. I have ordered it today. So for me, today is January the 31st. I have ordered it, but you know how hard it is to get the products from Ranger and Tim Holtz here in Austria. I'm hoping that it will arrive relatively quickly so that I can include that into my further videos of this series. And if you perhaps already have the color and you have made such a color palette, then of course you can be sure that it would fit to this paper as well. Yeah, so I haven't seen the color in reality, but what I have seen from the videos and Instagram and so on, I have compared that with some of the areas here in the paper, and I'm 99.9% sure that it would fit to this paper as well. Okay, so that being said, we can go to the papers that we have here. On the right side, I have the papers for the grungy journal. On the left side, the papers for the clean journal. In the middle, I have paper... Ooh, I'm so sorry. I have papers that I have to cut pieces from for this journal and this journal, because those would fit for both styles. And I have also printed out my printable twice, because I want to put one set in here and the other one in here. Because I want to show you that you can take exactly the same printable or other set of papers, of course, and turn that into the style that you are looking for. No matter if you want to make a grungy journal or a clean journal, you can take those papers that you like, that you have, that you perhaps buy somewhere, and turn them into that special style. So now I will go through the papers with you and show you what I have chosen and how I tear or cut and distress them to make them match this style and this style. Okay, so let's start with those papers that I have put into the middle here that are matching the grungy style and the clean style, and that I want to use for both of the journals. The first paper that I have here is some packaging paper, and this is relatively thin, but at the same time sturdy, and it has this really great sound, as you can hear. And the good thing about this paper is that it already has this really grungy edge that I want to use for the grungy journal and for some pages for that grungy journal. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want to find papers for the one or the other style, then the edges of the paper can be really, really important for the style. So let's see if I can show that in detail. Why is this so much? So let's put that out of the way. Let's first make a page for the grungy journal out of this. For that, I'm taking a DIN A4 sheet of paper. So this is just the preview picture here from my printable. And I know that this is DIN A4 and that this is approximately the size of my journal. So for me, it is really helpful to have some kind of a reference page that already has the maximum measurements of the pages that you want to put into the journal. I can go to this size, or if I fold it out like this, I can go to this size with my pages, or of course I can make them smaller, but everything that is bigger than this paper would make some problems size-wise later. Yeah, so this is like a reference for me. So that means I want to leave this grungy edge here with this really interesting tearing. So I put my paper here to the edge. That it doesn't have to be so perfect and so exact for the grungy journal, of course. We can vary that a little bit. Then I'm taking a ruler, and now I'm trying to tear this a little bit like, you know, just like this, so that this edge doesn't get straight, so that we have this grungy look with this edge already. And then we of course have to tear it here on the bottom, or what we also could do, because we have this edge here, and if I tear it here now, of course this would be lost and this interesting edge would be lost. We could also take this, and I like to do it like this. I'm turning the paper around and then I'm just folding it like this. Line that up with the top edge here of my reference paper. And then I'm taking this and I'm so sorry. And I'm folding this edge back until I reach the bottom edge of the reference paper, like this. So that we have this little zigzag thingy here in the middle. And later on you could take some glue, put that here. Or what I like to do is, I like to take that to my sewing machine and just sew over this line here. To get more interest to the page, to get more texture to the page. And of course with my sewing I can also control the style a little bit. But in this step I first want to have the right size. So that means when I now take this and I fold that here in the middle, we have one page for the journal in the grungy style. And of course we can take the same paper that we have used before and make a page for the clean journal, for this more clean style. And for that we don't want to use this edge here. I mean, you can do that, yeah? You do you, but I don't want to do that. I want to have a really, really clean and straight edge here to show the difference in the style later. So for that, I'm taking my paper trimmer, and how can we do that? Just tear a piece that is big enough, and I will just fold that in half because this paper trimmer is a little bit small, but that doesn't matter. You can just fold that in half first and then cut it. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I cut a really, really straight edge here. Like this. And then I'm turning that around. I'm taking my reference page, then I'm putting that here on top. Of course you can also measure that, but I like to do this freestyle. If you know me, you know that. So I'm just eyeballing that and then cutting that here. And here, of course, I want to do it exactly the same. So let's put that here to see how wide the page can be. Like this. Yep. Okay. So then, as you can see, we have a page with really, really straight and clean edges compared to that what we've done before. Now it might look a little bit strange because we only have two papers, but when you see the other papers later and you have more of those or more of those, then probably you will see the whole difference in between of those papers and those papers. So let's make a few more to have a better imagination of what the end result will look. Then I have taken out some book pages in different sizes and different fonts and also different languages. And I would like to show you that you can, with really easy tricks, use all of this for both of the styles, grungy and clean. Let's start with this book page here and with the grungy style. I like to tear into my book pages, for example, like this, to make them more grungy. I mean, that is not much, but it is a really big effect, I would say, later when the journal is finished. You can do this, or you can also crumble the edges a little bit, like this. Makes it really vintage and old as well. And when I take this and fold that in half, I like to fold that a little bit irregular, like this. So when we then take our first page and put that here, then it looks like this, and it's a little bit like wonky and not so straight. And that, of course, makes it like grungy as well, and like really used and, you know, grungy. And we can take the same kind of book page for the clean journal as well, but for that I want to fold that parallel here so that we get a really regular rectangle. And I will also not tear into the page or crumble the edges. I will just leave it like it is. So when we put that here and compare that to the other one, you hopefully can see the difference already. And I also have those pages here, and I've just realized that they are really, really thin, and that's really good because whew, that's so hard to take only one. Holy crap. Come on. So let's take one for the grungy journal and one for the clean journal. And because this is so thin, of course, there's a thing that we can do that is really, you know, in front of our eye. We can just crumble that up and get a really, really nice effect here without much effort. And you can already see the difference, hopefully, between both of these. And of course, we could fold this a little bit irregular now as well to make that match the other page. And now I want to put that in between here because I think then it already looks really interesting. As you can see now, it's really wonky and like irregular. And we have this cool texture here. Here on the other side, it's a little bit too long, but that doesn't matter. We can just do it like this and have the right size here height-wise. Of course, you could now take some spray or coffee or other mediums and put that to this paper to make it even more grungy and to make it match this color palette a little bit better, because we have no white in here. But of course, there's absolutely no problem with taking a white paper. Yeah, you can just leave it like it is. For the clean journal, I want to take this as it is and just fold it parallel here, like with the other book page. And then let's put it into the same order like the others, so that we then can compare that. And hopefully this makes sense. Next, I want to take the other papers that I have chosen for the grungy journal. with the help of our little sample book here, and I will go on with exactly the same methods that I have shown you before to bring those papers to the right size for the grungy journal. And when I have finished that, I will do the same with these papers here for the clean journal with the methods that you have seen before. Now let's talk about distressing the single pages for our journals. And I would like to start with the clean journal. When we look at the papers that we have chosen for this clean journal, and we have folded them really, really regularly, they might look like they don't really want to become a junk journal. I mean, it looks a little bit like, yeah, cut and folded papers, but when we think about junk journal, we often think about this definition of junk that comes from a trash can. Yeah, and when you look at this, I think you won't say this is typical junk from the trash can, yeah, because you could use all of this here for something, for writing, card making, or whatever. You wouldn't throw this away, and because of that, you can't take a piece like this out of the trash can. Do you know what I mean? It's way too clean and too new and that stuff. But for this clean journal, we want to have it like this. And I also want to mention that, especially if you are a beginner and you see different junk journal artists, different YouTubers, then you probably might be a little bit confused about this word junk. There are many people who are using only junk for their junk journals, things that really came out from the trash can into the journal. But there are many people who also use other things. Yeah, that includes myself, because I also like to use other things, not only the stuff that is in my or was in my trash can. And of course, I also like to use digital paper or really special paper like this Braille paper, for example, or things that were gifted to me. I mean, shall I first throw my Happy Mails into the trash can to take that out again and then be allowed to put that into my journal? Of course not. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But perhaps you know what I mean. It's really hard to say what can you put into a junk journal, because in my eyes, everything is allowed. Yeah, if you want to use only digital paper, then of course you can also create a junk journal. That doesn't have to be real trash. And junk, in combination with junk journal, of course, can also be paper or other material that you have collected over the years or that you have left over from something. I think we should change our minds a little bit about this word junk, because junk journaling shall make us happy and boost our creativity. Yeah, and I don't want to think about, is this real junk? Am I allowed to put that into my junk journal? That's way too much for my brain. I want to be creative. I want to make some art. And if someone gets my junk journal and has fun with it, then I'm happy as well. And that's all that counts for me. Yeah. And with the word distressing, it's often something similar, like I've said before, with this word junk, because distressing originally means to, like destroy the edge of a paper a little bit. For example, with a tool like this, you can take that, and here in there are some tiny blades so that you can go over this. I have to do that out of the camera. It makes really much like a mess on my table. And when you do that, you have something like this, so that the edge is a little bit destroyed. Yeah, distressed. And in the meantime, I mean, from the beginning of junk journaling until now, the definition of distressed is also something totally different. I mean, there are so many different methods to distress the edges of your papers. You have way more options than only this thing. You can, of course, also do that with ink or with other wet mediums, like, for example, watercolor or acrylic paint that you've watered down, or sprays, or everything that is a little bit liquid. I want to use my oxide inks today because we have them here for our color palette as well. And I want to use those mediums like oxide ink and the sprays and so on for the rest of the pages as well, for different techniques. So I have taken out the colors that we have here on the clean color palette and also those that we have on the grungy color palette. And now I want to show you different techniques of distressing the edges for reaching different styles. Let's start with the clean journal. Or can you already call it a journal? I mean, yeah. And I would like to start with Hickory Smoke. So I'm taking a white paper so that you can see that really good. Of course, that works on any other paper as well. And then I'm taking my oxide ink, and I like to use those beauty brushes here for distressing. But there are different options, of course. And depending on what I want to reach, I use this, or alternatively this. Or you could also use something like this. So let's take this color, and I'm loading up this thing here, not too much. And then I do that really slowly now so that you can follow my steps. I like to start here on my protection paper, and I make those circular movements on the paper, and then I come closer to the paper that I want to distress and to this edge here, so that I get a really, really smooth distressing here to this edge. And I also go like this and then like this. So I think, how is the English word? Clockwise and you know, the opposite of clockwise, even if I don't know if clockwise is a word, but hopefully, oh my goodness. So please change the direction of those circular movements that you make to make sure that this gets really, really smooth. You don't want to have those strokes from the bristles of the brush here, so that you get a really like cloudy, smoky result here that is, yeah, nearly invisible, but it is here. There is also this thingy available, this little finger sponge. It is, yeah, I would say something similar to this here. From the material is really similar, I would say, but of course this is way smaller and this is bigger. And with this thing, I can't recommend to do this, what we've just done with the brush and what you can do with this, because this is made for doing this on the paper, but this is, I would say, not made to make this, because I can show you that with my Hickory Smoke finger sponge. It has fallen apart because this is not so sturdy, and when you take that and go over the table like that, or the paper, yeah, it's too hard for this little tool, I guess. But with those, you can reach a really different effect to this. So I will just take another paper to show you that. And we're going to take another color so that you can see the difference between that as well. So here I'm taking this and I'm going over the edge like this. And as you can see, the paper moves down with this motion. And this is like the job of this. Do you know what I mean? And with this method, of course, this can't fall apart, and it's meant to use it like this. And both of these techniques we can of course do a little bit more grungy. So let's take 2 pages from the other journal and the other color palette, and let's try the same thing but more grungy. And then when we go over the edges now, we do that not so smoothly like with the other paper, but really aggressively. I think so. So let's do it like this. And as you can see, I don't care about how the paper is moving. Yeah, let's let the paper move where it wants. Just go over that. And if something happens, for example, something like this, and you think, paper, go down, I want to have you down, and you press it, and something like this happens, just be happy, because this is just a cool effect that you've reached with just some ink and the folds in this paper. Yeah, be happy about that and leave it. If you don't like it, fold it back into the original position. But yeah, you got me. So as you can see, I'm taking really much ink, and here I also like to crumble the paper while I'm distressing, because when I fold that back and I go over that, I get a really interesting texture and structure here. Yeah, I think that's the right word. Now this edge nearly looks like leather, really old, really vintage. I want to take this page because I have chosen this because we have here in the color palette the wild honey. And if you've seen the last video, you have learned why I have chosen this color. The main grunge for the journal comes from ground espresso, frayed burlap, and brushed corduroy. That is grunge, yeah? And then we have chosen 2 colors that are popping out, forest moss and way more extreme wild honey. And for the grungy journal, if you have chosen such a color like wild honey, I would recommend, but that's only my personal opinion, to not overwork this color. When you have found such a page and you think, okay, that is great to have that here, try to have only a few accents of the color in your journal to make that harmonious. As you can see, here's not much of this yellow on the other pages. I mean, nearly nothing. Perhaps I will put some of this wild honey color somewhere else, but only a tiny little bit, because I think when you have this color that shall be an accent and you put too much of that to your journal, then it can be like not seen anymore because it's too much. If you, overload a journal with your accent color, it could be the totally opposite effect in the end. So that's the reason why I'm taking this. And I know that this page will go into my journal later like this, and I can open it like this. So this will be the page. Here is already really, really much of this orangey yellow. So I will put the distressing to the inside of this page so that we get a cohesive look from here when we flip to here, but not too extremely. So here I'm taking the finger sponge as well, but I mean like in the clean journal, but I do this really aggressively as with the other tool, so that we get with the same method a totally different result like before. So if you want to compare that, it's a few hours later and I have prepared my papers for the clean journal and the grungy journal with those techniques that I have just shown you in the previous part of the video. And I would quickly like to show you them and tell you some thoughts that I had while I have distressed all of the pages. I mean, it's a little bit like meditation to do that. So the first thing that I've realized is that the distressing in this clean journal is nearly invisible in the camera. As you can see, it's not so intensive, and on some of the pages it looks like it is not existing, even in reality, and that's a little bit strange, but I think that also those tiny details can really make a difference in the end result. And what I also thought is, when you think, okay, this is nearly invisible, I can't really see it, and I don't know why I shall put so much effort in a technique that I later on nearly can't see. Then, of course, for such a clean journal or also for any other style, you could totally leave this step out and don't distress your pages, yeah? There's no need to do this. Please only do that when you like it and when you are satisfied with what you have here. If you think, ooh, I don't want to have this smoke here on my page, then leave it out. Leave it just like it was before. And especially for this cleaner style, that could also help to reach this style when you don't distress the pages. So that was just something that I thought in the meantime. So let's go to the grungy papers for the grungy journal. Here I have also done those techniques that I have shown you before. Looks way more intensive, of course. For example, here, if you don't like this, or if you have pain and you can't do that, or if you, for example, have no time but you want to make a junk journal, then leave this out. Yeah, look at this. And then look at this. This is also folded, similar to this. And why not? There are no rules. Nobody says that you have to do it like this if you like this better, or if it's time saving for you, or if it helps with some issues that you have. To don't do this, then just leave it out and do it like this. In my next video, I would like to show you a really, really easy and also time-saving way to make this more cohesive and even more grungy. And I'm also a little bit afraid because this technique makes the pages really wavy, so that we have not this straight edge anymore, and that it really looks like a junk journal and not like paper that is in a cover. And I'm afraid because I said to you, I want to create those journals simultaneously, and I want to use the same techniques for the grungy journal and for the clean journal. That means I have to throw something wet to the pages for this journal as well. And my problem is I have never done that before. It's only in my head and I have no idea if that will work. So we will find out what will happen when we throw water to those papers here. But I want to go this way to, take the same techniques and put that to both of the journals to show you what happens, when you see a technique and you put that to your journal, what happens then? Because that is your reality. You are watching what is she doing and you are putting that to your own journal, and then you see what happens. So let's try to stay really close to the reality for that. I hope you like this, and I hope you could take some tricks and ideas with you from this video. If you have any questions, then please leave a comment below the video. I will try my best to answer that. Have a very, very creative time until we see the next time, and make some grunge or make some clean distressing or whatever you like to do. See you the next time. Bye bye.